You know, I've got some symbols floating around, and I've got some review boxes and things floating around. But for the most part, do you mind? I'm trying to do something. I was kind of torn between calling this video 2021 the year of change, or my alternative was, oops, I'm having a midlife crisis. Although arguably I've been having a midlife crisis for quite a while. I haven't bought any fast cars or anything. I've had the same car for 10 years. It works perfectly fine, so no point in changing it. But I said after I bought the, as I was reminded recently actually, although I denied it, I said at the beginning of the year, after I bought the Sonophonic kit, which I think you can just about see one of the toms there, I said I wouldn't be buying any more kits. And I think I've bought half a dozen since then, or certainly 4 anyway. 1, 2, 3, yeah, well, certainly 3. I think it's more than that. That's pretty terrible, isn't it? I mean, certainly 3. 4. Yeah, no, 4. At least 4. At least 4. I mean, there's one literally behind the camera. I mean, I don't know how I can not see that, because, like, I'm literally looking at it. So I bought at least 4 kits since I bought the Phonic there. And, you know what, if you'd asked me, I think if you'd asked me this time last year, I probably would have said I had no intention of buying any more kits. And that was after I'd bought one in the end of March. And I don't know what changed. I mean, something changed in me, and I kind of like reflected a little bit, and I thought, you know what, just this amount of snare drums. I mean, always was having that 170 odd snare drums was always pretty ridiculous. But I just realised that I mean, I was holding on to things for the wrong reason, and I think holding on is probably the right term in that respect, actually. You know, I had the drums for kind of the wrong reasons. I mean, I did still like them, and in fact, I've sold a whole bunch. I think I sold like 7 snare drums in the space of about 8 days recently, and then I sold another one just recently. In fact, the Brady in the last video. So that now lives in the US, and after having it for, I think I probably had that drum nearly 20 years, actually. I've been thinking about it. Yeah, better part of 20 years. But I just decided that I'd kind of I had enough snare drums, and you know, the ones that I wasn't really, it was kind of split. It was the ones that I wasn't using, and I kind of had no emotional attachment to anymore, and the ones that I just kind of still liked, but you know, people had asked about them, and I'm like, oh, you know what? There's no point in just hanging on to stuff, and I have reinvested the money. I reinvested the money in a few different kits, actually. So I went from having a lot of snare drums to, well, okay, I had a lot of kits anyway, but having more kits, which is kind of weird. I mean, I think it's a little bit weird, but I mean, it's just a new thing. I think my focus has shifted slightly from having just loads of snare drums to now having loads of kits, and I'm hoping when things now my Scar band has now finally died a death, which is a bit which I'm a bit sad about, but at the same time I'm kind of actually embracing that position, to the fact that I can use, you know, hopefully I may come across a couple of projects off the back of that Scar band, which I'm hoping, and if that is the case, I'm hoping to basically be able to use more of the variation of kits that you kind of see in the room here. I've said before several times. I mean, it was actually through the request of my guitar player that I tended to always use the same kit for that band, and that was fine. The only time that I really ever used that kit was with that band. I tended not to get it out here too much. I've had it out in the last year, but I kind of didn't really use that kit because I didn't use that kit in here because I was kind of using it out there, and that was fine. And then when I did the odd dep gig, I would take something else, or when I was doing a more sort of fancy gig, not with my little furry flying friend here. When I was doing a more fancy gig with a bigger room with the ska band, I would, I think actually we used to do a regular gig every year. We used to basically do a big room with a nice sized stage, and I could guarantee that no bugger would come near me. So I mostly took the Craviotto out actually, and that was kind of nice. I think the first year I did it, we played the same place but in a different part of it, and I took the RCI acrylic kit actually, which I think was only one of two occasions I ever used it with that band. So I took that kit that year, and then I think actually probably three or four of the following years I used the Craviotto kit, and the one year that I didn't, which was kind of sandwiched in the middle, I actually used the Star Classic Bubinger, which is just slightly out of shot up there, or the 10-inch Tommies anyway. But I didn't really get a chance to sort of mix things up, and it was really because the guitar player liked the sound of those drums. I think particularly the kick drum, and admittedly the kick drum, I managed to set that kick drum up so it was really nice on that wood fiberglass kit. But so I'm embracing the opportunity, or at least the potential, to do something new, and be able to take a different kit out with me each gig. So, but I mean, that wasn't really the motivation for picking up more drums or more kits. I've said before again, actually. I mean, numerous kits. In fact, that one there, being a very good example, was the Pearl BLX was something that I remember seeing in the catalogue when I was younger, and it just in this Sequoia Red, it just kind of jumped out of the page at me, and it was in fact I remembered another kit I got, so that's at least 5 there. There's the Prestige up there, the Session Elite up there. So that's at least 5 kits I've bought since that Sona one. Yeah, the BLX was a kit I always saw in the catalogue and kind of really sort of lusted after, and it was just one of those sort of things, one of the sort of childhood dream kits, really, I suppose. And then let me see it. Well, the Phonic was another one. I always kind of loved the Phonic. To be fair, it was always the high-tech version, basically the Nico McBrain sort of version, really. But you know what? I can't remember ever really seeing a Phonic kit. Well, I have actually seen a Phonic kit up for sale quite recently. It wasn't in the UK, and it was about a 10-piece kit with 2 kick drums. And about 10,000, I think it was about $10,000 or something. So it was way out of my league on many levels. I bought there's the Masters kit, which you can sort of there. That's the Masters kit that turned up recently. I've only had a chance to play that once, and that wasn't with all the toms. There's been a real big push on Pearl, not for any particular reason. I like Pearl actually, but it's just I've bought a lot of Pearl kits. In fact, most of the last 5, in fact, I think all of the last 5 kits I've bought have all been Pearl kits, with the exception of this new fella here. I've got a new friend here. I've also got another new friend there, funny enough. And I'll come to those at a later date, but they're kind of just sort of quietly sat there at the moment. In fact, this one's friends are actually the kit I'm sat behind, but this one I've left out either for the little moth to play when I clear off back in the house, or alternatively next week when I actually need them. But to just do a quick video with. But I've sold a bunch of snare drums to fund most of this, and as I said, I've kind of I don't regret selling the snare drums, although there are some of them I think mentally I hadn't quite checked out on, but it was just I'm glad that I've basically been able to sell those snare drums on to people who will play them more often than me and who will enjoy them as much as I did. So there's a little bit of sadness for me, but there's a little bit more, I think, on the positive and the joyful side, and the fact that hey, they've gone to people who will enjoy them as well, and who probably, I think, in some ways, really wanted them more than I did. So that's cool. But I think I've bought a couple of snare drums. I mean, I'm saying I bought a couple of snare drums. I now bought one snare drum. Well, I mean, in the whole lockdown period thing, I've bought numerous snare drums, but since I sort of started selling them off this year, I think actually I may have only bought one snare drum. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've only bought one, and that was a Trick, funnily enough, which I did do a video on, and then I've kind of scrapped it, so I'll put that up at some point, but I'll redo it and put it up, I think. Yeah. 2021 has been a bit of a strange year. I didn't mean... I had no plans to buy a whole bunch of kits. I thought I had no more room. In fact, when I sorted this room out in October 2020, actually, quite unintentionally and much to my surprise, I managed to basically get all of the kits up and away, and then realised that I didn't have one on the floor, which meant I had extra space. I was basically one down, I suppose, in terms of room. I had space for one more kit. And that, as I said, that was much to my surprise because I didn't plan it that way, but that's the way it turned out. So I'm like, oh, that's fantastic. A bit of a winner there. And of course, yeah, I probably bought another kit, but I don't know how I've done it, because I have sold a bunch of snare drums, as I said, and I did sort the other room out, which you might have seen in the little tour update thing I did fairly recently. So I did have a bit of a move around in the other room as well. So both rooms have changed slightly. But I don't quite know how I managed to make so much more space that basically I've got the kit here, which I'm behind, that I will play. And I have one little teeny tiny kit there, and that's basically, I mean, it's a bit of a mess here because I'm in the middle of doing things, but I've got some cymbals floating around, and I've got some review boxes and things floating around, but for the most part, do you mind? I'm trying to do something. But for the most part, everything is sort of up and housed, and it's kind of it's worked out kind of nicely. But I will be selling some more drums. I will be selling a 14x7 Edge, and I will be selling the Q 3mm brass plate drum, the one that's riveted with the funky pattern on it. I will be selling those two. I've got some old bits and pieces as well, hardware-wise. Now, unfortunately, I probably won't be shipping those out of the UK because it's just a massive pain in the backside. Yes, 2021. It's already worked out. I don't really have a plan for all of this. That may have been obvious, obviously, but I haven't got a plan for all of this. I didn't have a plan for all of this, but I think with the introduction of that, or rather that and its little friends, I am, I think, officially done buying kits, or at least for the foreseeable future. I mean, that may change. at some point. But as I will come to, some of you all know what that is, and I know I posted this on Instagram recently, so some of you all know what that is, and some of you may even know why that is quite important to me. But I said I'm going to sell a couple more snare drums. I'm going to sell some. I've got some bits, some vintage sort of hardware and stuff like that, as well, and some other bits and pieces. I will post them on sort of Instagram and Facebook and things. Yeah, 2021 has already been a bit of a surprise to me. I didn't plan on buying so many kits. I certainly didn't plan on selling so many snare drums, but it just seems to have worked out that way. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but you know what? I think for now, I'm finally full. So me and my little fly around friend, wherever he's gone, we'll see you next time. See you later.